Okay, I'm going to read you a story. It's called The Last Light on Ridge 47. War does not announce itself with glory. It arrives with smoke, silence, and fear. Ridge 47 was supposed to be quiet, just another frozen line on a forgotten map, tucked between jagged mountains and endless night. The kind of place commanders talked about briefly and soldiers never remembered unless something went terribly wrong. And on that night, it did. Private Elias Ward was 22 years old, young enough to still write letters home he never mailed, old enough to know fear intimately. He wasn't a hero. He didn't think of himself as brave. He was a radio operator. Thin gloves, heavy pack, heartbeat always louder than the static in his headset. The outpost housed 12 soldiers, 12 names, 12 lives, and one failing generator. At 2:17 in the morning, the power died. The floodlights went dark, plunging Ridge 47 into absolute blackness. Snow swallowed sound. Wind cut like knives. Elias reached for the radio instinctively. Nothing. Then came the first shot. It cracked through the night, sharp, deliberate, not a warning. Enemy forces emerged from the darkness, moving fast, using the terrain like they'd practiced it 100 times. They weren't here to probe. They were here to erase the outpost. Gunfire erupted. Flares burnt red against the sky. Shadows moved where men once stood. Elias dropped behind a concrete barrier, fingers shaking as he tried to reestablish comms. Command, this is Ridge 47. Do you copy? Static. A scream echoed from the eastern wall. One of the sentries went down. The lieutenant shouted orders, but chaos drowned him out. Snowstorm interference, broken lines, too many directions, not enough time. And then Elias realized something terrifying. They were being surrounded. The generator had failed. The backup battery was dying. If the radio went silent, Ridge 47 would vanish from the world. No reinforcements, no rescue, just 12 men against a force 3 times their size. Elias checked the battery indicator. 5%. He swallowed hard. He wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the best shot, but he was the only one who could make the radio work. He crawled through the snow as bullets tore overhead. The comms tower stood 50 meters away, exposed, unprotected, silhouetted against the mountains. Reaching it meant crossing open ground. The lieutenant saw him and shook his head. Ward, don't! Elias didn't answer. He ran. Each step felt like dragging his own fear behind him. Snow kicked up around his boots as rounds snapped past his ears. One grazed his arm, burning hot. He didn't stop. He reached the tower and slammed his body against it, gasping. The antenna had iced over. The cable was damaged. He could fix it, but only if he climbed hands numb. Elias scaled the frozen rungs and howling like it wanted to tear him off the mountain. Below him, the fight raged, men yelling, rifles firing, flares lighting brief moments of violence. Halfway up, a round struck the metal near his head. He froze. For the first time that night, fear overwhelmed him. He thought of home, of warm kitchens, of mornings that didn't smell like gunpowder, of a life that could still exist if he just climbed back down. Then the radio in his pack crackled weakly. Ridge, signal fading. Someone was trying to hear them. Elias climbed higher. At the top, his fingers barely worked. He ripped off his gloves, skin instantly screaming from the cold. He spliced the cable manually, hands bleeding, metal biting into flesh. Another bullet hit the tower. The structure shuddered. Elias pressed his forehead against the steel and whispered, "Please, just work." The radio screamed to life. "Command, this is Private Elias Ward of Ridge 47. We are under attack. I repeat, under attack. Coordinates. A shot tore through his side. Pain exploded, white and blinding. He nearly fell, but he finished the transmission. He repeated the coordinates again and again, louder, clearer. Then his strength gave out. Elias slid down the tower, collapsing into the snow. The world narrowed to breath and heartbeat. Below the outpost, held on barely. Minutes felt like hours. Then came a sound no one forgets. Helicopter rotors, searchlights cut through the storm. Explosions entered as enemy forces scattered into the mountains. Reinforcements flooded Ridge 47 like dawn breaking through night. The fight was over. Elias never saw it. He was evacuated at first light, unconscious, blood frozen into his uniform. Surgeons later said he lost more blood than anyone should and still be alive. He survived. Weeks later, in a hospital far from the mountains, the lieutenant stood by his bed. On the table rested a small velvet case. Inside was a medal for valor beyond duty. The citation read, "For choosing others when retreat was possible, Elias listened quietly. When the lieutenant finished, Elias asked only one question. Did everyone make it? They did, all 11. Ridge 47 still stands today, not because it was strong or important or remembered by history, but because one ordinary person refused to let it go silent. Valor doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like cold hands on broken steel. Sometimes it sounds like a weak radio signal cutting through the dark. And sometimes valor is simply staying when leaving would have been easier." Thank you for watching. That is the story for the day. Y'all have a good one. Subscribe to my channel if you would.